from an Europa League champion to struggle in the relegation zone.
It is happening again. It is unravelling again in North London.
Spurs find themselves in the relegation zone, 2 points away from safety. It's a new manager, but same old Spurs.
We are in the relegation zone, fam. Forget the manager. At this point, you could bring in Jesus, Allah, Jah, Zeus, Ares. You could bring in all of them to manage this team, and we'll still go out there and embarrass ourselves.
Spursy has just gone to another different level. The biggest joke of football history.
Is it worth it? Oh yeah, it's worth it. If you're strong enough.
They're the only team who make giant like Man City look small.
To make it 2-0. No, good save. And now they make it 2. Turned in by João Palhinha.
But ready to kneel to underdog teams.
Another humiliation for Spurs, another disappointing night in North London for them.
And it looks like such a poor Premier League side, relatively speaking. What do they have over those other two sides? Right now they have nothing. There's not availability, there's not really continuity, there's not really a huge sense of belief.
Owning a £1 billion stadium, the most modern in the world, Tottenham knows how to entertain their audience. Bring in Beyoncé for a world-class show and decide to keep the clowns to the field. Big Six? Yeah, 6 teams watching Spurs drop. Tottenham said, trust the process. Premier League said, relegation process. The story surrounding Tottenham Hotspur has always been built on a familiar assumption. They belong to the Big Six. Therefore, relegation is simply not in the script.
You know you're finishing bottom half next year. I promise you I won't be there. I won't be there with you. You think we're mud brothers, we're not. You see that trophy I just took? I've risen above you now. I'm looking down on you.
Because I know what...
In the popular view, clubs like Tottenham always have an invisible safety cushion. That is a revenue stream among the highest in England, a nearly £1 billion iconic stadium, commercial appeal, and the ability to retain players at a level that the rest of the league finds difficult to reach.
Yeah, no, we have the quality. We have a really good team. I know we can do the job.
When you possess all those factors, people assume that you have enough resources to overcome any period of decline. But football does not operate on faith. It operates according to what happens on the pitch, and the numbers do not lie. After 33 rounds, Tottenham only has about 31 points and is sitting in 18th place. A streak of 14 to 15 winless matches spanning several months, coupled with the fact that they haven't managed a single victory throughout the year 2026.
He believes, though, they can win all 5 games remaining.
Yeah, I believe in Santa as well. It's still another game without a win. They're still in the bottom 3. But like we said last weekend, they need much more than that. That's not just enough being Mr. Positive.
When a team maintains such form over a long period, it is no longer a short-term fluctuation or a momentary slip. It is a clear trajectory, a repeating trend, and usually leads to only one conclusion. For smaller teams, the same run of form would immediately be attributed to a problem of capability. They are not good enough, they lack quality, and relegation is an inevitable consequence. However, when the same thing happens to Tottenham, the terminology changes subtly. It becomes a crisis, a transitional phase, a temporary issue that can be solved just with time. Reputation in this case is not just an image, but a lens that distorts the perception of reality. It is precisely that difference in evaluation that creates a form of illusion of safety. It makes people believe that Tottenham is still in control of the situation, while what happens on the pitch says the opposite. And when a team lives too long in that illusion, the moment of facing the truth often comes more abruptly and harshly. They aren't judged by their ability, but by the glory they are expected to uphold. Tottenham Hotspur at this moment is no longer an underperforming Big Six side. They are a team displaying the exact image of a relegation zone collective. A team that enters matches without enough structure to control the game, without enough sharpness to convert opportunities, and most importantly, without enough stability to protect any advantage.
Area now, Semenyo again, edge of the area, shoot! Bournemouth 3, Tottenham 2, Antoine Semenyo!
When you cannot maintain the tempo of the match, you start to depend on moments. When you cannot finish off your opponent, every small mistake is punished. And when you continuously lose your advantage, the belief within the system itself begins to collapse. That is how a team slides gradually from competing to surviving, and then from surviving to crisis.
I think relegation is the end, I think, for us.
No!
Yeah, I don't think we have what it takes to come back.
Chaos causes more chaos. So when the story is brought back to its technical core, Tottenham Hotspur's problem is no longer about feelings or perspectives, but how they operate on the pitch through each specific play. And if everything had to be summed up in one idea, it is the conflict between control and chaos. Tottenham tries to play like a controlling team, but what they produce instead is a continuous sequence of out-of-control situations. Looking at the build-up phase, instead of seeing a clear structure with pre-prepared deployment options, what appears more often is improvisation. The ball is moved forward, but does not go through stable channels, depending instead on the instantaneous decisions of individuals. This leads to a very clear consequence in the pressing stage. When the ball is lost, instead of the entire block pushing up according to a common trigger, Tottenham's pressing happens disjointedly, with everyone at a different tempo. And in modern football, being offbeat by just one tempo is enough for the system to break. Opponents don't need to do anything too complex. They just need to bypass the first layer of pressure, and behind that, there is almost no truly reliable layer of protection left. When this repeats many times in a match, the concept of control almost completely disappears. From there, the issue with rest defence becomes clearer than ever. Tottenham frequently puts itself in a high-pressing state, but fails to prepare for the worst-case scenario. The distances between lines are stretched, positions do not form a protective network, and when the ball is lost, the formation is immediately stretched vertically. The counterattacks they face are no longer surprises, but almost inevitable consequences. The number of goals conceded increases not because of an individual mistake, but because the structure behind is not secure enough to withstand the pressure. In other words, every time Tottenham loses the ball, it feels like an emergency defensive play. On the attacking side, the story takes on a different colour, but the result is similar. Tottenham can still get the ball into dangerous areas, and the chance creation metrics are not bad at all. But there is a massive gap between creating an opportunity and converting it into a goal. When Harry Kane and Son Heung-min left the club, Tottenham lost their guaranteed finishing points. Previously, just a half chance could become a goal. Now, they need more chances, but the reliability is lower. This makes the entire attacking system energy-consuming, yet inefficient, and over a long season, that discrepancy accumulates into dropped points. All of these issues ultimately converge in how the squad is organised in space. Tottenham fails to maintain reasonable distances between lines, leading to players frequently falling into a state of isolation. When receiving the ball, they lack sufficient nearby support options, passing triangles fail to form, and ball circulation becomes fragmented. A team can accept errors in a few areas, but when the spatial structure is broken, everything else loses its foundation to operate.
When Tottenham start a season, you don't know. You have no idea what they're going to look like. You have no idea how they're going to play. They don't have a style. They don't have an identity. They don't know who the manager's going to be. They don't have the players that match up what the manager wants, what the ownership wants.
There's no philosophy to get back in the game, but it is a team. It is a team of individuals, James. It is a team of individuals. It is like watching a team go out like a reserve team that you just put them out there, lads, go and have a game.
The current Tottenham is not a true attacking side, nor is it an organised defensive one. They are a collective that has yet to determine how to exist on the pitch, and when you don't know who you are, every match becomes a gamble. The transition from Ange Postecoglou to Thomas Frank, then to Tudor, and finally to Roberto De Zerbi is not merely a change of leadership, but a change of the entire logic of football. Each head coach brings a different system, from the way they build up and press to how they organise space. When the cycle of change happens too quickly, the team does not have enough time to absorb any philosophy. The result is that they are always in a state of learning, but never truly understanding. That lack of stability filters directly down to individual performances. When players are unsure of their roles within the system, they tend to narrow their scope of play, choosing the safe option instead of creating a breakthrough. This is particularly evident when pillars like James Maddison or Dejan Kulusevski are not at their peak physical condition. Tottenham loses its creative bridges, but simultaneously lacks a clear enough structure to compensate. At the back, the instability surrounding Christian Romero leaves the defence without a steady axis, both technically and mentally. The lack of strategic cohesion causes Tottenham to continually slide. As each phase serves a different idea, the squad gradually becomes a collection of individuals suited to different systems, but not truly fitting together within a single one. This creates a prolonged imbalance where every injury or minor fluctuation easily shatters the entire structure. Talent has never been the issue. Structure is what is truly dragging Tottenham down. Looking from the perspective of a club structure, something more interesting than ever suddenly emerges. Despite all the problems being exposed on the pitch and in the way they operate, the narrative surrounding Tottenham Hotspur has not yet completely turned its back on them. The reason is simple: Tottenham is still a massive brand. They own one of the most modern and expensive stadiums in Europe, a revenue-generating machine not just from football, but also from concerts, the NFL, and global events. Their commercial revenue remains among the highest in the Premier League, and memories of Champions League seasons are still very recent. All these factors create a layer of cognitive lag, making many believe that this is just a temporary slip rather than a systemic issue. But precisely because of that, the current moment becomes particularly critical, because if Tottenham truly gets relegated, the impact will not stop at the professional level. Financially, they could immediately lose between £175 million and £200 million per season upon leaving the Premier League, while the entire Championship only shares about £119 million. The total loss could exceed the £200 million to £250 million mark per year, a figure sufficient to shatter the entire current financial structure. The pressure is even greater when placed alongside existing obligations. The debt of approximately £851 million from the stadium does not disappear when the team goes down. On the contrary, it becomes heavier as revenue streams plummet. Sponsorship deals could also be adjusted or cut, leading to a 20 to 40% decrease in commercial revenue. This means this is not a light reset, but a shock that could last for years.
A lot of speculation. The Telegraph did an interesting article on it, but the clauses in sponsorship agreements that are dependent on Premier League participation, the media exposure that comes with it. Now, can you imagine the ramifications of getting relegated on some of these deals, some of which are also expiring relatively soon?
I mean, eye-watering. I mean, absolutely eye-watering.
However, what keeps this story from closing lies in the reality on the pitch itself. Tottenham, despite being in a state of instability, still has a chance. The upcoming fixture list is not impossible to turn around. Tottenham have just defeated Wolves 1-0 to keep themselves in the relegation battle. Then comes Leeds in a direct confrontation where the result could change the entire landscape. And finally, Everton, a match that could become the final of the whole season. With just a streak of 2 to 3 consecutive wins, the entire narrative could flip. And that is the paradox of Tottenham right now. On one hand, they are a prime example of a collapsing system. On the other, they are still only a few wins away from survival. Therefore, if the present is seen as the landing point for all problems, then Tottenham Hotspur's exit route must also begin by stopping, rather than continuing to react. They don't need another short-term pivot, they need a decision clear enough for the entire system to cling to. That stability must first come from the coaching bench, not changing to find a new effect, but keeping a philosophy clear enough and long enough for players to understand what system they are playing in. When the match approach no longer changes constantly, problems with control and structure will have a chance to be solved at the root, instead of repeating in different forms. The attacking puzzle needs to be looked at realistically. The void left by Harry Kane and Son Heung-min is not just the number of goals, but the sense of security in decisive moments. Without a reliable enough finishing point, every chance created is a matter of luck. Conversely, defence is not a story of sitting deep, but a story of organisation. When the way they react after losing the ball is more clearly defined, and when the distances between the lines are no longer uncontrollably stretched, the number of conceded goals will naturally decrease. This is a matter of structure, not of single individuals. And then there is a factor rarely mentioned, but which decides how a team survives in a crisis: the dressing room. A collective lacking a leading voice will always waver when results decline. Tottenham needs players who can maintain performance standards, remain calm, and most importantly, keep the faith when things have not yet improved. When the psychological foundation is stabilised, tactical adjustments will truly have the space to take effect. None of it is too complicated, yet it is very difficult to execute. Tottenham does not lack the resources to fix their mistakes. They also do not lack the individual quality to compete, but without a clear enough structure to connect everything, those advantages will continue to be neutralised over time. Tottenham does not lack money. Tottenham does not lack talent. They lack a system good enough to survive. If Tottenham truly gets relegated, will it be the moment when all the mistakes accumulated over many years are finally exposed in their naked truth? Or will that very fall be the necessary condition, forcing them to rebuild from the foundation before returning as a more stable and dangerous version in the future? If you enjoy our video, don't forget to hit like to help this video reach to other football lovers, and hit the subscribe button to follow for more interesting videos about football stories. See you in the next video.